He even says it in one scene. He's like, why'd you sleep with Greg? You know, I like you too. Like, she fucking didn't want you to get murdered, you dick. You just still.
Stay here tonight. That's no problem.
He's so creepy. I can't stand Paul. I think he's such a creep. Absolutely no way. Kill him. Kill Paul. Ugh.
More episodes keep coming. This is episode 76. Hello, film fans. Thanks for listening today. As always, my guest here is Kobe.
Hello.
And our extra special guests are Suruthi.
Hello.
And Hannah.
Hello.
From RedHanded. And we're here to talk about It Follows.
And if you want to hear more about us or read more about us online, come to our website, flixwatcher.tv, visit us and join in the banter with us on Twitter at FlixWatcherPod, and head over to iTunes, subscribe to us, review us, and share with your friends.
All films featured in the podcast were available to stream on Netflix UK at the time of recording, and please be aware there will be spoilers and some language that may offend. Hello and welcome to Flixwatcher podcast. Today we are joined by Suruthi and Hannah. If you would like to tell our lovely listeners about the podcast that you do together, please.
Absolutely. So I'm Suruthi, or Suru, and I'm the co-host with Hannah here of RedHanded, the podcast, which is a weekly true crime podcast where we cover crimes from all over the world, really. And yeah, we are joint in our love of true crime.
How do you pick the crimes that you choose?
It is whatever takes our fancy. We didn't want to box ourselves in with any kind of restriction saying we're only going to do crimes from here or there. We were like, we just bloody love true crime. We think it's fascinating, and we want to talk about the cultural, social, political, every kind of aspect of crime, because it is so inherent in every case you talk about, and not be restricted by anything. So we just go with what we fancy.
Because it's not just murders you guys do.
No.
Yeah.
So we love a bit of cult action. We do murders. We've done a possession.
Fake deaths.
Fake deaths.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
the John
Darwin.
Darwin. Yeah.
Absolutely, you got to do
Fucking
that.
Hilarious.
Absolutely, that was a great one. So yeah, we also did one recently on the kind of whole incel movement, if we want to call it a movement, which is very alarming and disturbing and sits on the terrifying part of the internet called the manosphere. So yeah, we like to kind of touch on those really topical ones because they're really exciting to research. There's not much out there, but we also like to do some of the more your classics, your golden oldies like Fred and Rose West and the Moors murders and things like that. So yeah, we like to do the big time ones that everybody can't get enough of, apparently, and also the less known ones that you want to shine a light on that no one else has covered.
I was listening to the French Alps one.
Oh yes,
because I remember reading that one, and that one's just really fascinating, and it's still going on, isn't it?
Yeah.
The murder's still going on.
Well, no,
the investigation.
investigation.
We actually find that we are quite zeitgeist because every time we do a case, not every time, several times we've done a case, the next day there's been like a break in the story, which is freaky.
Yeah.
Which is freaky.
You'll just be sitting at work and my phone will go and it will be all capitals, the zeitgeist.
And it will be just
then
like
a link to an
screenshot.
article of something that's happened of the case we've released that week.
It's crazy. And even our listeners have picked up on it. People tweeted at us and when this happened, most recently after we did the Swedish case, and like the day we released it, the judge finally unveiled after 27 years the name of Witness C, which was the name of one of the witnesses they'd kept secret for almost 3 decades on the day we released the episode. And one of our Twitter followers, they started to pick up on it now, and they were like, quick, do the Zodiac and let's see what happens.
One of your episodes you were talking about one of the things that scares you the most is the slow walking villain or person that's apprehending you rather than the fast runner and that obviously ties directly into It Follows, which is your choice.
Good segue.
Yeah, see what I did there?
I like it.
So can you let us know why you chose it and give us a 2-minute synopsis?
Absolutely. So I chose It Follows because I absolutely love horror films. I mean, I'm sure that is a shocker to everybody involved. But It Follows, I think, is just it is an original. It is a very unique film. I think it's not a remake. It's not a book. It's not anything. It's just a film, and I like that. And it's not totally unique. I feel like it is paying a bit of homage to the 80s films that you see, like Halloween and things like that. But what I love about it is very nostalgic. I think it's got an absolutely killer soundtrack. I think it's fantastic. It's
Killer soundtrack.
absolutely, Ba-dum-bum. And it's it feels very like reminiscent of the kind of 80s films we loved back then. I think the way they've done all the shooting, it's all been great. Synopsis of the film, obviously, spoiler alert. It is about this girl named Jay who I like her. She's quite like chill. She seems like a chill person. And she goes on a date with this guy, as you do, and she has sex with him in his car, as you maybe do.
As all Americans do.
As all Americans do. They're on the beach and then they're like, no, let's go back to the car. I was like, you rather like, isn't that better? Like in his weird car. But that scene where she's like lying down and then he just like chloroforms her, boom. And then I think genuinely the scene after that, I normally hate exposition scenes where it's just like lazy writing, where it's just like, we're going to just explain it to you in 2 minutes because we couldn't be bothered to show you in the film how this happens. But I do think the exposition scene that follows that, where she's tied to the wheelchair and what's his name? Hugh.
Yeah.
Hugh is telling her what's about to happen to her. You just fuck this guy. He chloroforms you. He ties you to a wheelchair, takes you to like an abandoned car park, and then tells you that you're going to be followed by a monster and you have to keep running. And he tells you to go sleep with other people. And that woman, that naked woman who walks slowly towards her, my biggest fear, absolutely terrifying. I think it's such a great opener for this film. And then the rest of the story is basically your classic, like, there are no parents around ever, and the kids are just hanging out in this house by themselves. They are like ultimate 80s hipsters, like all of these kids. And Jay is basically being followed by this invisible, unknown, mysterious demon that's trying to kill her. And her friends are a mixed bag of people who don't believe her because she sounds nuts, and people who for some inexplicable reason do believe her. And it's just basically her going on the run trying to figure out how to survive.
Good synopsis. I didn't understand why he chloroformed her. I think he could have just said, let's just hang out in this car. Let's just hang out here. Let's hang out anywhere in this cold, in a football field. They could have gone anywhere else and say, we're just going to hang out here. Here's some drinks. By the way, something's going to walk here in a few hours' time. You need to keep away from that.
Yeah, but you wouldn't have believed him.
Yeah, you wouldn't take him seriously then.
You need to be scared of what's going to happen.
No, but all you need to do is wait. As long as he can keep you there for a bit until it arrives. If there's a naked woman like that comes walking towards you, I'd like take it seriously.
Maybe it was because he didn't want her to think that they were still having a relationship.
Yeah.
With
and then
chloroform,
she'd
that's
pass
the
it back
ultimate.
to him. Yeah.
The deal breaker.
Yeah.
I think what it is Hugh's a good storyteller, and he's decided I need to build some atmosphere into this situation if you're gonna take me if you're gonna take me seriously at all, Jay. So just so you know, date's done now. We're done with the date. We're now in the second part of this evening where you're gonna be terrorized by this naked woman demon who's gonna chase you, and I'm out. I'm gone. See ya. He's got to build the atmosphere, or she's not going to take it seriously.
I don't really think you could be pulling plot holes at a film where people are chased by.
No, that's the point. I just don't see why.
That's not the biggest plot hole, Kobe. There's so many bigger ones.
But I don't see why she needs to be chloroformed to be.
Because it adds tension.
I also think it's to do with
what's going on.
The viewer, like obviously she's just shagged him in the back of a car. You're like, oh, he's going to kidnap her. That's what's going to happen, and then he does, but it's not what you think. And I think that's why it has like a different angle as the watcher. But I think I'm with you. It's quite a bit of a clunky plot point.
But it's quite like, boom. It like goes from being all like lovey-dovey, she's hanging out in the car, to like, oh no. And you think, shit, he's a psycho. No, that's not what it is.
Maybe, it's just maybe just a switch up.
Yeah. Plot twist.
Yeah. And the thing it follows, they didn't give a proper name. They didn't give a name, but it manifests in a few different ways.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly naked people.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the certain degrees of undress.
Yeah, which I found quite weird because I thought the whole premise of it follows when he's telling her during that great exposition in the opening about how it could be anybody. That's the fear factor, is that it could literally be anybody in your life. It could suddenly be somebody you know that's doing it. But then they just make it like really obvious people. They make it like, oh, look, it's that half naked woman who's walking towards me, or like that crazy old naked woman who's like walking towards me now. It's like, I think it would have been more scary had she not been able to tell who it was until it was almost too
More
late.
clothes.
But they made it very, very obvious it was. But then I guess that's to play on our dread, because otherwise there's no visual really for us. But yeah, I didn't know where I was going with that. Yeah.
So which was the scariest manifestation for you guys?
The tall man.
Yeah, with the really, really tall one behind the door frame.
Yeah. When they're standing in her bedroom and she's freaking out, and then it's like her friends are like, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? Because one of the things in it follows is that unless you've been infected, you can't see it. And so her friends are just like, what the hell are you screaming about? And suddenly there's just this man behind. That scared me.
That is such an amazing shot.
That's great.
I think that's where my wife ducked out the first time I saw this.
He's kind of got the same makeup as like the main zombie guy in Dawn of the Dead. The kind of with the eye makeup. Maybe it's the same guy. I'm not sure.
I couldn't tell. But yeah, that was my.
He looked familiar.
I was
my
too
main
busy
scary guy.
screaming. That was a good scene.
One thing I liked about watching this the second time was seeing how the cold open actually, which you didn't talk about, was quite cool. And then you just see like a broken leg, which we've got an image of that, which is very striking actually. This is for 2 minutes into the film.
I thought that was one of the bigger plot holes, because this girl just like runs out of her house and she's just like screaming, and her dad's like, you okay? She's like, yeah, Dad, I'm fine. Go back inside. I'm just being chased by an invisible monster. And then she's like running, but she's like running in her underwear and massive heels. Take your heels off. Like
Jurassic World.
Like you didn't have enough time to like get dressed, but you had enough time to put massive heels on. And they're not even like chunky heels. They're like stilettos. And she's just like running. And then she's just like, I'm just going to stop at the beach and get murdered here. That's very weird.
Was she walking around her house in the heels already, or did she think, hold on, I'm not going to put a coat on.
Come
I'm
out.
going to put the shoes on.
Doesn't she come out first and she's not wearing them? And then when she comes out the second time round, she is wearing them to drive. Because she comes out twice, doesn't she?
Yeah.
I can't remember if she's got them in the first time round.
That's a fair point. But why would you, if you were stopping to put shoes on, would
she
you
went to put them on.
Yeah.
She was like, if I'm going to be murdered.
Is that better or worse?
I don't know. But then also when you think about it, you just think, oh, she's just given up.
Yeah, well, that's
a woman wearing stilettos hasn't given up. But I would also say maybe it's like when they tell you to always wear clean pants, because you never know when you're going to get hit by a bus and you don't want to end up on the coroner's table in dirty pants. Maybe she was like, I don't want to get found dead in ugly shoes. I'm going to wear these massive red stilettos and go out with a bang. Look at her.
It wouldn't be as striking of a shot without them, would it? Really?
She's like wearing some old trainers. It wouldn't be as great a shot, would it?
Some Converse.
But she might have got away.
Yeah.
Because the thing follows you at walking pace. That's one of the best things about this whole thing. I know that's what I found scariest. But you can run and it can only walk after you.
So this is one of my questions is, what would you guys have done to escape? If you were infected, as you quoted.
Yeah.
Because obviously it's a heavy-handed allegory to STIs and stuff like that, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
What would you have done to escape?
I would have just gone on the run. I'd have just go. You just get planes from place to place, sleep with people on your way. Like, how long would it take for it to walk from here to like Peru?
It's also not going to walk on water, is it?
It can swim.
Can it?
Yeah.
How do you know it can swim then?
Because in that scene where Jay goes out to the boat and she's like, it cuts so you don't actually know what happened to her, but she goes out there and then it's still after her. So if she slept with those guys, it must have swum out there, killed them and then come back.
Could they not just come back on dry land and catch them when they're...
Maybe.
Because I really wanted to know, when her friends first see like any kind of thing happening where her hair's pulled out, they're at the beach. And I was just like, just go in the water and see if it like drowns.
I reckon it would, yeah.
Because when they're in the pool, it doesn't go in the water then.
No.
It only goes in the water when it gets shot when it goes in the water.
But then what? So you could just like leave the country.
You could just swim.
I think that's
just go to France.
Probs. That's it. I'm off. I'm out. I'm going to go to get out of America. Get out of the Americas. And then you're safe. Oh, is that it? Oh, well, that's sad.
Because what I would do is I'd get a flight, but what I'd do is like, okay, the average walking pace of an it is like 3 kilometers an hour. Get a plane to somewhere quite far. And you can, if you put some buffer in there, you can say I can be here for 3 months happily, and then I'll just jump back.
Exactly.
Do like a migration thing, go away for the winter.
Or you could just pass it on.
Summer.
Yeah, but you pass it on, someone else dies and comes back to you.
Absolutely. Well, there
but you tell them to keep passing it on.
But they'll still die though.
Why will they die?
Because someone's going to die at some point. So I don't think you can rely on the fact that someone else...
You get some cars made that says this is what you need to do.
Yeah.
Else,
Just leave it on their pillow after you slept with them.
yeah. Else you will die,
Yeah.
and then I will die, and you don't want to die, so you've got to tell the person next.
Oh, but that's
It's like a chain letter.
That's what she tried to do with Matey Boy across the road.
Yeah, but he was
Greg.
a twat,
Yeah.
so...
Oh, yeah, I mean, that scene where they have sex in the hospital bed is so disturbing.
I like Jay, but all at the same time, why is she having sex with a friend when she knows what the rules are? Because I think that's just a bit. So she has sex with Greg. She has sex with Paul, who's begging for it from the
I
get go.
fucking hate Paul.
What, dude? If I knew, if I was a girl I fancied, and I found out she had an infection, wouldn't fancy her anymore. It would be that kind of simple.
Yeah, but he wants to save her. He
No,
loves her that
doesn't.
much.
He's creepy. He's like the classic nice guy. He's even says it in one scene. He's like, why'd you sleep with Greg? You know, I like you too. She's like, she fucking didn't want you to get murdered, you dick. You just still.
stay here tonight. That's no problem.
He's so
I won't
creepy.
watch.
I can't stand Paul. I think he's such a creep. Absolutely no way. Kill him. Kill Paul. Ugh. But
Maybe that's what she wants. Maybe she's just
maybe
like,
that's what she wants.
I've-
It's the end game.
I've had enough of your whining.
I'm gonna let's go have sex. But no, I actually thought as well with this, linking into what you're saying about the infections, is clearly and obviously like an allegory for an STI, whatever. And also if you pull in the kind of 80s vibe, I think there is such an atmosphere of like intense paranoia throughout the entire film, like Jay's feelings of it, especially because other people can't see it and she's like constantly pranging out and acting like a total lunatic.
Pranging out.
Hashtag Love Island. The whole like 80s vibe fits very well with like the kind of the whole US 80s HIV crisis that they were going for. I wonder if the whole choice to make it a retro film that was linked to the 80s, making an STI film, was a conscious decision because of the AIDS crisis and the paranoia and the fear that was around in the States at that time.
I think it's interesting. Like, I completely agree. That's obviously got like an 80s vibe to it. But one of the things I noticed when watching it is you really aren't sure exactly when it's set.
Yeah,
because her
didn't
mate's
think
got
it
that
was in the
weird shell
80s.
thing.
The shell Kindle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's also a torch sometimes.
Yeah, and you're just like, what even? It reminds me of, did you have a Dear Diary when you were a kid and it was like a little
Yes.
like...
But it couldn't read like books on it. It was like...
No, you just typed
that's
in
what
your
I mean.
inner thoughts.
Into what looked like calculator
Yeah, exactly.
text. And it was just like, hers is a torch, but she can also read the idiot on it. It was like, what world are they living in?
Yeah, where are the adults?
But I think that was quite a good thing. It's like they have a whole retro vibe going on, but at the same time, it's kind of also trying to make it seem a bit timeless in when it was set. So no, yeah, I think they could just be like living in modern days, but all just be super hipsters.
Well, the clothes they wear are terrible. I mean, she's got a horrific cardigan on at one point. That is just horrible. And yeah, and also I really like how when they're driving around, everything's just really run down and like really.
I think it's just one of those towns, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like this is where.
I think that's kind of like one of the scariest things. Like it's just kind of a nowhere place.
Yeah.
And everything, all the houses are boarded up and there's nothing for them to do. And
Yeah.
there's no parents. It's kind of like,
Again, it's very
place.
80s though, isn't it? It's like the whole John Carpenter, like Halloween, like where are the parents?
And they
Like,
watch
no one's
loads of
ever
old
there.
films on an
Yeah.
old TV.
Oh my God.
Was it on old TV?
They're
Yeah.
always watching old films. I'm like, just all the
Weird
time,
monster
just black and white films. Even when they're like, because that's like quite like a niche, like ironic thing to do. Let's like get around and watch this like old black and white film. But they're just doing it. There's a scene where Paul's just sat looking really bored in the living room while the girls are all asleep and he's on guard. And he's like watching a really old black and white film, but he looks like bored. I'm like, what is happening?
Change the channel.
Yeah, just
Yeah, just stop it. Go to sleep.
you don't watch it, like ironically watch a black and white film and look bored throughout it on your own. That's weird.
Because I think they had a fairly good plot to try and catch it. I think they didn't understand how electricity and water works. Hairdryer in a bath, fine, but there's too much water, current's not going to travel. Simple physics. But I'd try and like catch it in a shark cage and see if it could escape from that. Because it does have physicality. You can hit it and just be like...
Feed it to the sharks.
Not feed it to the sharks, but just hold
Trap it.
It's there forever.
Yeah, because it like manifests itself and then it can interact with like the physical world. But I also thought it was very weird that you could like shoot it.
Yeah.
I didn't like that you could shoot it. She like randomly shot it at the beach and I was like, it just falls over for like a second and then gets up and carries on. I was like, that's an unnecessary plot point. in the fact that you can shoot it, but just stun it with a gun. That was weird to me.
Because sometimes it broke through walls, but sometimes it had to like knocked on the door to, hi.
It could smash glass, but has to knock on a door to come in. Maybe you have to invite it in or something.
No, but it smashed through the shed door.
Yeah.
It did.
But it didn't come in though.
It did. The little boy crawled in.
Yeah, the little boy crawled in, but she ran out.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes I think it was well done sometimes when it was like manifesting itself as like a physical thing, like the tall man, and even the woman when she's the old woman when she's in the school classroom and she's looking out the window and this woman's walking towards her. But the kid, I found the kid really like...
He was a bit cheesy.
Shit, it was cheesy. I was like, oh no, you've ruined it. You ruined it now. But no, it definitely had its faults. But I think on the whole, I think they did a good like job with keeping up quite a intense atmosphere of like... And I did, and that picture in the corner of when they're in the cinema with, what's his face? Hugh. And she's like, they're doing that shit game they're playing and they're like the girl in the yellow dress and she's like, I can't see a girl in the yellow dress. And then that's when he was like, we need to get out of here. How did they not get caught when they were getting out of the cinema though? If she was right, because
that was the exit.
Oh, so they stuck out.
Well, I don't know. What do you mean? How did they get caught?
Because no, they got out.
Yeah.
Without getting
caught. 2 exits though.
Oh, okay. Fine.
That was the thing. Yeah. You need to go somewhere with more than one exit.
Oh, so he knows that. He seems pretty chill for a guy who's being chased by an invisible monster, though.
Yeah, who rented an entire house in a different name just so he wouldn't get found. I think the thing to say...
Wanking pit.
Oh.
The thing to say about this film that we're obviously kind of digesting it and picking it apart, and if you don't think about all these kind of massive weird things, which... I mean, it's kind of a supernatural horror anyway.
Yeah.
So
I think we sound a bit too down in it, but I really enjoyed it.
Me too.
I'm not a horror guy, as Helen knows, and our dear listener, Jeff, he knows.
Jeff.
Yeah. He knows I don't like horror, but this is one I really enjoyed, and I think it took a lot of people to say it's good. So I do want to reiterate, it's good, and hopefully that will reflect in my scores at least.
I mean, for someone who's watched horror for a lot of years, it is quite hard to come up with something that's original and scary and not really been done before. And I mean, there's a lot of things about this, like particularly the sort of the versions that follow around steal a little bit from like The Shining, because some of the creepier bits in The Shining tend to have
The Shining 2 happening.
Oh
No, see, this is the problem.
If
they need to stop
or a sequel or a prequel.
remake and the new Halloween
Do you want to know
film.
who's going to play Jack Nicholson's character in the new Shining?
But he can't.
Do you know who it is?
Is it Adam Sandler?
No. It's Ewan McGregor.
Yeah, but spoiler, Jack Nicholson, he doesn't survive.
But I don't know what their story is. I don't know where they're going to go.
Is it a prequel to The Shining?
I literally saw the next Shining film is going to star Ewan McGregor.
Fuck off with that shit.
They just make so much money though, won't they? That's why. Let's do it. Money.
Horror fans just love throwing money at things.
They do. We are like, we're just desperate. That's what it is.
Scare us more. We
and also, please scare me. I think that's why horror makes so much money, because people are just like, even though as a horror fan you are constantly let down by films.
I think this is part of my problem, is that people who love horror will vehemently defend films which are shite.
Yeah, but then I won't. I'm a horror fan, but I won't sort of defend shit films. But apart from defend the fact that I actually quite enjoy sometimes a shit horror film, like watch something like Wrong Turn. It's fun. It's horrible and it's shit, but it is fun and it's funny. And there is a time and a place for it, at least in my life.
Yeah, I have seen that. I'm thinking about kind of good ones. Have you seen Wolf Creek?
Oh yes. See, this is the thing with me, is like after my last breakup, everyone else is like, oh, you should like watching The Notebook and having a little fuck that. Watch a slasher where everyone is getting torn to pieces and you can just sit there and be like, that's interesting.
That's exactly what I do as well. We've never talked about this.
That's exactly what I did. After my last breakup, I watched Wolf Creek, I watched Wrong Turn. You want to watch all of that shit and just get it and just be like, maybe that person's like in more physical pain.
I'm quite scared of you guys now.
You're not the only one.
How does this rank with recent horror classics such as Get Out and The Quiet Place. Have you guys seen those?
I haven't seen Quiet Place, but I have seen Get Out.
Yeah.
I enjoyed Get Out. I thought it was good. I thought it was original, which I really enjoyed.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was good to see some diversity in horror films because we literally never ever see that.
Truth.
I thought sometimes I was like, yeah, I get it. She's like, yeah, it's banging me over the head with it. I get it. But I did enjoy it. I'll give full credit where credit's due. A Quiet Place, I haven't seen it. It just seems a bit too like, I've seen it before. Was it good?
It's great fun.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
really can't do Emily Blunt.
You don't have to do her. She's going to be Mary Poppins 2, which I think comes out soon.
Oh,
Get
stop with your
lost.
Did you not know
sequels.
this?
Stop with your
Why are they
sequels.
making
If they've already
that?
filmed it, it's happened.
Jesus Christ. So
I
unnecessary.
was so
I like a bit of Blunt.
disappointed.
She's fine. She's fine. I think it's just like
Because she's good in Every Day is Kill, or whatever it's probably supposed to be called.
every day is kill.
That was the proper name of the film.
The Edge of Tomorrow.
Yeah, but that was the proper name of the
I'm
book.
glad
wasn't
they
it?
went with The Edge of Tomorrow.
No,
Not
most people didn't like Edge of Tomorrow because it sounds like,
Oh,
what is
wasn't it
this?
like live, die, repeat or something?
And that was
what they
another
were-
name for it. So
Oh
it had
my
like 3
God.
names.
They really fucked the marketing on that, didn't they? It was
Yeah.
yeah.
Blunt she was amazing in that, I thought.
that film's great for
To
them.
be honest, like I know that she's very good at her job. It's just an irrational dislike. It's just
fair enough.
everyone's got
I
one, and she's
appreciate
mine.
your good
Absolutely.
qualities, but I just think
They're just not for me.
Not for you. No. No, absolutely. I think this is more comparable for me to like something like The Conjuring, because again, that is a little bit. I know it's set in modern days, but it is slightly like Amityville, so they're kind of playing on the whole retro thing in that. And I thought Conjuring was great. A total opposite to this in the sense that it's that really traditional story. A family move into a house is haunted, but that scared me. That scared me good. Conjuring 1. Conjuring 2 was pile of rubbish.
Yeah, absolutely.
They were just
Shocking.
like demonic nuns and what was happening? That is not in the Enfield Poltergeist story.
No, neither in
Oh,
Ed
that's-
and Lorraine Warren.
And Enfield Podcast is one of your episodes,
We
isn't
have
it?
covered that. We have covered that. And there is no Ed and Lorraine Warren and there is no demonic nun.
No.
So
The Enfield haunting has been retold a few times in film. I've not seen any of them.
they made quite a good like mini series for Sky One
Right.
Yeah.
a few years ago, which is pretty good. It's pretty good. I can recommend that. But yeah, I think the whole story was just made up anyway, as Hannah hates me saying.
I don't hate it. I just don't think I agree.
God. Okay.
Right. Well, let's head to the scores.
So these are all out of 5. You can have a decimal place. You can have a 0 if that's what you want to say. And we'll start with you, Suruthi, because it's your film choice.
Okay. I would give this recommendability of 4.5. I would recommend this.
I think I'm going to go the same, 4.5. I do recommend it to people who are looking for a modern horror film that's just a bit different, because they're quite hard to come by.
Sure. H.
I'm going to go 4. I was expecting a little bit more horror in this.
And this is your
than I
first
actually
time
got.
watching, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'd heard really great things, and obviously it's one that you'd mentioned before that you'd seen and enjoyed for someone who doesn't like horror. So yeah, I think it's a little bit too long as well. I think it probably could have lost.
What was the time on it? Was the time?
I don't know,
timestamp?
but I felt that once they'd kind of had the reveal and they'd kind of battled with it, and then
What
they
reveal,
still
sorry?
dragged it out, sort of, kind of they've had the shock one in the doorway and the kind of the first one, and then the old woman,
Okay.
and then it just kept repeating a little bit too much.
The last one was her dad, though, wasn't it?
Was it?
The one in the swimming pool. Because I think that was his point of saying it takes the form of people you know.
But
'cause
we'd
then-
never met her dad.
But it's a subtle thing in the picture. I only picked up the second time.
You know, I didn't get that.
And that's why she was like, I don't want to say what it is because then I won't react to it. And then she's pointing at it in that weird way in the pool.
Oh yeah.
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 Yeah. So I think you saw her dad, or what might an adult in the family picture.
Yeah, I think it's something I picked up on second viewing.
Yeah.
At first I didn't realise it was her dad, but yeah.
So you said 4. What did you say?
Yeah,
4.
4. I would have. Yeah, I wanted to like it more.
I'm going to go 4.1 because I think as someone who doesn't like horror, and I keep on saying this, but it's one of the films that's made me think, okay, there are decent horror films out there, and that's why I went to see Get Out, and that's why I went to see A Quiet Place, because I think there's a place for it. But things like The Conjuring Haven't seen it. Probably never going to see it. I'm not asked about ghost stories.
Fair enough.
So I think there's good films in the horror genre that are scary-ish. 4.1. But I think I prefer Get Out and I prefer A Quiet Place to this, I think, as well. Repeat viewing score. Saru.
So this is actually my third time watching it,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's worth a second watch,
Sure.
because I think you pick up on some extra things in there, and lots of stuff is very subtle, like you said. So I'd give this a 4 repeat viewing.
And in the pantheon of films that you've watched the most, how would what's the film you've watched the most? That was a weird way of asking a question, wasn't it?
What's the film I've watched the most? I actually think it's really rogue. I think it's actually Apocalypto.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Really?
I know. I actually really enjoy it. I fucking
Apocalypto
hate Mel Gibson, but I credit it. It's a good film.
Okay.
I enjoyed it. No one else thought it was a good
No,
film.
it's actually quite high up on my list.
A rewatching film.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's really scary. It really upset me the first time I watched it. So I watched it again, and I feel like it's quite cathartic when I watch it.
Is that a post-breakup film?
Yeah, it could be. Could fit in there. Could
okay.
fit in there.
All
Yeah.
Hannah, repeat viewing score.
I think I've watched it twice. I'm not like feeling like I want to watch it again. So I think I'll give it a 3.
And what if it's not Apocalypto? What's your most watched film?
It's so embarrassing. It's The Prestige.
Why is that embarrassing?
That's not embarrassing.
What's the
That
matter with
film's
you?
amazing.
And why do people apologise for like awesome shit?
You can watch that film so many times and
I've
get
only
so
seen
much
it
out
once.
of it.
I need to watch that again.
What about you two though? I'm interested to know.
Get to our scores.
Oh, I see. What were you going to say? Sorry, I cut you off.
I think I watch it when I tidy my room because I've seen it that many times that I can just have it on in the background. I'm like, it's fine. There's 2 Christian Bales.
Spoilers for another film.
Yes, we should. Yeah, sorry about that.
So 3, Helen.
Yeah, I don't really feel the urge to watch it again, even though there was bits that I missed. 2 maybe.
All right.
There is a sequel, isn't there?
I don't think, not that I know of.
Probably.
If you
you're the
type
sequel man,
in, it
so-
follows in.
I'm a sequel
It
man.
comes up 2.
It follows in. Oh no.
Oh, really?
I mean, I'm sure they will. They're money whores. They'll capitalise on any opportunity.
It
they
was a
can
bit of a
get.
gash way to finish, wasn't it? In walking,
Gash.
walking hand in hand.
Oh yeah, that's how it ends.
And I just don't buy that.
That's such a shit couple.
Yeah.
So fake. So fake.
They're going
Like
to die.
Jake.
It's going to come back. He didn't pass it on to the right person.
Yeah, because he
passed on to a hooker.
That's so sad as well, wasn't it? It's pathetic. He's like,
It
I'll
was
have
so
sex with you, but then I'll give me some money.
It was so sad, just him like driving along in his like car. We just like barely see over the steering wheel and go to have sex with like this random woman so we can get rid of it. And then that ending was so shit. We're just like, is it following them? I'm like, I don't care. If it's Paul, I don't care. Look,
You're quite happy for Paul to go.
Jay looked so uninterested. It was such a fake couple. She was
terrible.
just like, I wish I was still with Hugh.
In a horror trope, Paul should die.
Yeah.
Do you remember when we first kissed? Yes, I do.
It was really creepy.
Why did you kiss him?
He's so creepy.
I'm gonna go. I'd like to. Yeah, I think it bears rewatching. I wouldn't watch it that much. So again, I think I'm gonna give it 2.8. I reckon.
The small screen score. So this is how well do you think it suits kind of watching on your TV or laptop, or does it benefit from being seen at the cinema?
I would have liked to see this at the cinema. I didn't watch it when it was out in the cinema. I did see it when it was out on Netflix. So I'm quite gutted about that. I'd have liked to see it in the cinema. I think with the soundtrack, with the atmosphere, I think it was actually really beautifully shot as well. I would have enjoyed to see it. I would have liked to see it in the cinema.
When you talk about the shot, I think the main redeeming bit about when he chloroformed her and tied her to the chair is when he was shuffling her around like that, and the camera's just on her face.
Yeah.
I thought it was really cool.
It was
a really
good.
cool shot.
There was
I'm
some
not sure it
really
needs to
good
be
shots.
projected, but I thought there's some really interesting shots that they put together.
Yeah.
It reminded me a little bit of, have you seen kind of like Spring Breakers?
Yes.
It's kind of got that harmony
Harmony Korine.
Yeah, it's got that kind of vibe about it. And there's a bit where she puts like some blades of grass on her leg. So there's
Yeah.
some like really dreamy kind of virgin suicide-y shots that make it, it's kind of like an art house
I'm
horror.
lying in the pool and stuff like that.
Yeah.
She's constantly like it's quite dreamlike all the time with Jay. She looks quite out of it a lot of this time. So I think, yeah, the film's not that scary, apart from a few of the like scares we talked about, but I think it's dependent a lot on the atmosphere and the sound. And I think that's why I would have, instead of just like watching it on my laptop in my house, it would have been quite good to see it on screen. So I'd give it, but it works on the small screen, but then I think I'd probably give it a 2 for small screen score.
Sure. Hannah.
I think it works quite well as on the small screen, but then I wonder whether I think that because that's how I watch literally everything.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to give it a 3 for that, I think you're right. I think if you'd have seen it in a cinema environment, it probably would have like ramped up the tension a little bit more. But I think that's the case with a lot of horror films.
Yeah.
I'm in agreement with what you say. I think horror films are best enjoyed with an audience, whether that's
It's like
in a
stand-up
cinema.
comedy, I think. Very similar.
Because you kind of feed off everyone else
Yeah.
losing their shit, which is brilliant.
Do you think many people lost their shit at some point?
I reckon so, and I reckon because it's quite an unusual film that you don't quite know where it's going to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, that some of the the first sort of jumpy in moments be quite entertaining.
So what are the kind of most visceral reactions you've witnessed in the cinema?
I guess people screaming and literally jumping about a foot out of their seat. I
Sure.
saw the first Paranormal Activity at the Cineworld in Wandsworth. It was packed. It was brilliant.
It's Paranormal
Literally,
Activity is
people
perfect in the
were
cinema.
like arms in the air, and then they just like look at each other and then start laughing. It was brilliant.
It
and
was,
people getting up and not coming back. It was brilliant.
I really think
Yeah, so I'm not.
that's it for me.
Yeah.
This date is over. There's a girl in a yellow dress over there. I'm going to run out.
Yeah.
I think when I saw Drive at the cinema, because I didn't know what to
Same
expect
reaction.
at all, it was just like bang, and people like say jumped out of the seats, and I was like, yeah, this is a good film. I like this. Any strong reactions from you guys?
In the cinema, I've seen people leave, and I've seen people scream. Yeah, in the theatre, I've seen fucking all sorts.
I've seen people. I think if one of the Final Destination ones was in 3D,
Right.
and like I think in the trailer for it, like there's some kind of axe or something throwing the screen. actually ducking for these
Fantastic.
things in 3D. So that's quite good. But yeah, people just physically
Yeah.
Respond.
and it's great. And then when they realise what they've done, often it's laughter. It's
No,
good.
that's true. I think for me, it was like, I definitely agree with the Paranormal Activity. I thought that was fantastic. I saw that in the cinema and I was so glad that I did. But the other one I watched in the cinema that, I'm going to sound awful, but
I
don't
love
care.
the way you set this up.
No.
Guys, really shit. The Prestige. Have you seen it?
I didn't say it was shit.
No, with this, it's I'm gonna sound awful because I didn't like the film, and it was so people were like, "Oh my god, that was the best film ever." I was like, "Was it?" No, it was 12 Years a Slave.
Ooh.
And I went and watched that in the cinema, and people were crying and sobbing, and I was like, "Mate, like." I went there with tissues. I wanted to have, and I don't normally pick sad films. I wanted to have a visceral reaction to that film.
Yeah.
And I just felt like it was all just like gore and no heart. That's how I felt about it. I didn't feel like it made me sad. I didn't feel like it made me cry.
Ooh.
It just felt a bit like, oh, like I've cried much more at other films on like similar topics, obviously. No, I think they wasted it. And everyone in the cinema was crying, and I was like, probs not.
I've just thought of one. I, in a former life, was quite a staunch Catholic, and I went to go and see The Passion of the Christ in the cinema, and it was me.
It's a Mel Gibson theme.
Yeah,
isn't
it is. I just thought of that. And
I mean,
it's
he's a crazy alcoholic, but he makes some good films.
me and like a few people I went to church with, and then just nuns. Just the
my
whole
God,
theatre
wow.
was just nuns, and they were going fucking nuts. Like watching nuns go mental is insane.
Brilliant. That's fantastic. That's the best one.
I completely forgot.
Yeah, you get the prize of this bowl of jelly
Oh,
babies.
yes,
For
that's all I've
that.
ever wanted.
What you really want in that situation is they've all accidentally wandered into Paranormal Activity.
I want to see nuns at the cinema now.
I've never seen that.
Yeah.
I've never
Never
seen
seen
nuns.
that.
I've only
Maybe
ever seen
Gaggle
one
and
nun
Nuns.
in the wild, and that was in the tube. And I was like staring.
I mean, it's stare-worthy.
It is.
It's stare-worthy,
I mean,
I
I've seen
think.
Sister Act. I've seen nuns on the run a bit.
But in the wild, yeah, you're right. That's freaky.
You said 3, was it? Your
3,
score?
yeah.
Back to you.
But I think it's good to have like a decent horror film on Netflix because we've established there's not that many out there. So if you haven't seen it already, then do give it a watch.
I think some of the sound cues would have been beneficial in the cinema rather than the visual setup. So I'm going to give it a lower small screen score than I would do typically for this, because otherwise I think it works pretty well on there. And the fact it did scare my wife into going to bed means it did have some effect. I'm going to give it 3.258.
The 258 for wife scaring capabilities.
Engagement score. Saru.
First time I watched it,
Yep. Well, just generally give us.
yeah, I think, really high. It was different. It caught me in. I thought the soundtrack was great. Like I said, the atmosphere catches you. And it was that bit where he chloroforms her that I was like, all right, I'm in now. I'm in.
That's why they did it.
So that's exactly why they did it. Absolutely. Nice to loop back to the beginning. I'd give it a 5, you know. I wasn't scrolling through my phone. I was fully watching what the hell Jay was going to do.
Hannah.
I was fully engaged. I think I'm going to give it a 5. I didn't do any phone looking.
I feel like the naughty child now. I did do some. I've got a bit bored towards the end. I think it could have lost 20 minutes. I think. I thought I got a bit bored of them just running away and then running away, and then they were still running away, and then they were running away again, and then they were running away again, and I felt that they could have umped it a little bit.
I think. Sorry. You give your score there.
4.
4. I think I agree with you. Actually, I think I wanted a more inventive way to try and finish the film out. That if it didn't work, then fine. But just running away to actually not that far away,
or a non-conclusive ending of maybe them not walking down the street.
Well, I didn't care about because that's the final shot. So, however, if they'd tried to catch it and they thought that was it, and then
I kind of lost interest by that final shot a little bit because I was just like, just get on with it.
And when she did have sex with Paul,
Killed it.
Yeah, because he's such a not dweeb, but he's a dweeb.
He's a creep. He's a creep.
Yeah,
he's a creep. Absolute creep.
He just wore her down.
He did. That's what it is. That's what I mean by it. Just like
That's
nice
the worst
guy.
kind.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But I still stuck with it up until so I'm going to give it 4.1. And that gives us an overall score of 3.64. Decent.
Decent.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Repeat viewing was where repeat viewing a small screen score because we wanted to be more scared in the cinema, it seems, and that's fair enough. Should we head to the Twitter?
Yes, let's
find
do.
out what our Twitter peep said.
So if you're following us on Twitter, then when we are reviewing a film, we'll put a little shout out. You'll be able to see it because it'll have a little GIF, and we'll say what film we're reviewing. And basically, you can give us your 5-star review, a short review, and retweet this. So let's have a look at what the Twitter sphere has come out with.
So, Suruthi, do you want to read the top one?
Absolutely. So from Sarah May Tucson, who we actually met at the British Podcast Awards, which was nice, said 4.5, best horror I've seen in years. Genuinely creepy concept that had me jumping at shadows for weeks afterwards. Also an excellent soundtrack. Totally agree, Sarah.
And then she follows it to say hello to Suruthi and Hannah for me.
Hi, Sarah.
Hello.
Hannah, do you want to read the next one?
Cinematically correct, that one.
Yeah.
So they say over at Cinematically Correct, I tried to watch this and couldn't get into it, ... Maybe I watched it too late at night, ? And quizzical face.
Yeah, and I followed up saying, why was it too scary? And they responded, boring, to be honest.
Yeah, they are savage over at Cinematically Correct.
That's
Yeah.
savage.
I mean, I can kind of get that a little bit. If you're not, you have to be sold on it from kind of the first 20 minutes or so. I think after that, if you're not into it by then you're not going to sit through the whole thing.
Helen, do you want to do the next one?
This is from Dave Corky.
Corkery.
Sorry, Dave. Dave Corky. I think that's a better name.
Change it by default, Dave.
Yeah. Love It Follows.
That was all he said.
Yeah.
Nothing else.
I mean, you meant to give some stars, Dave. You know the deal.
Do you want to take the next one? Because that was such a short.
Yeah. So this is Hey Down in Front. It Follows is one of my favourite modern horror movies to date. 4.5 stars. Strong.
The last one is Real Feels podcast. Suruthi.
Sure. They said, I'm not a huge fan of it. Honestly, I find the story to be trivial. I think it's clever how they found a way to make STDs a horror concept. Don't get me wrong. The visual representations of the followers were again creative, but it wasn't that good. 2.5 out of 5. Yeah, all right. But I thought it's quite funny because they were like, I'm not a huge fan of it. It's quite trivial. But then they gave them quite a lot of credit for being creative and smart. So I think you're asking
a lot. Mixed review there.
Mixed review.
Yeah. Well, guys, thank you so much for coming on this here podcast.
Thank you for having us.
Why don't you sign off by letting people know where they can find RedHanded the pod?
Absolutely. So you can find RedHanded the pod. We can follow us on social media. On Twitter, we're at RedHanded the pod. Same on Instagram. We also have a very active Facebook discussion group if you would like to get in on that and have a chat with us. You can also find us every week on Acast, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, wherever you listen to your podcasts. And we'd love to have you.
Cool. Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks for coming on.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye. Thanks for listening. As always, you can find us on iTunes. Do subscribe and leave us a nice review if you feel like it. You can find us on Twitter at FlixWatcherPod, and the website is flixwatcher.tv. Thanks, as always, to the mighty people for their mighty, mighty tunes, and thanks to Brendan Russell for his awesome editing skills.